Very, very excited about our win this last week. It wasn't always pretty. But one of the things that, as coaches, we really appreciate is when there's some resolve, there's some resiliency in your team. I thought our defense played really, really well. Our kicking game, for the most part, other than the punt return that we gave up, which is a little bit difficult in the sense that while you've got to cover those obviously the fact that he kind of picked that thing up on the hop created some issues. Offensively, not a very, very good game until the last drive. And one of the things that, again, as coaches we can appreciate a little bit is, again, kind of some resolve. And looking in their eyes this past Saturday, I think we're kind of getting back. We're getting a little bit more confidence about us. We're doing some things that says that this is really, really important. And I think, as I mentioned prior to this media press conference, is just that's probably what we've been missing here over the last several weeks, is a little bit of confidence. And so I'm very, very pleased with that. The open date came at just a tremendous time. I don't know if we need to talk about open date in relation to an opponent, but we need to beat open week this week, and we need to do it by getting healthy. We need to get ahead academically. And we need to, fine-tune some of our inefficiencies, kind of go back and look at our tendencies offensively and defensively. But it really, really could not have come at a better time, because we've got a number of guys right now that have been playing nicked up, and for them to get some recovery time at this point in time is pretty significant. I don't think there's very many teams out there actually that have played 7 games as fast as we played 7. And so we're anxious to utilize this week for all the above things. Questions?
You have a bye week. You come at perfect time physically for getting some guys healed back off and getting some bruises healed up. But what about mentally, do you think? Because you had some mishaps with maybe Tulane and the loss to Western, but having a win like this and then maybe kind of gathering your thoughts back together and focus on the rest of the year. Do you think this is also a perfect time for that?
I think so. I mean, that'll be sometimes the emotional side of things becomes a little bit more difficult to gauge. The mental and physical side is generally a lot easier. The emotional side, I think this probably came at a very good time for us. I think it gives us an opportunity to reflect, refocus, and get back to kind of business. And I've noticed it in our football team in terms of the way that they're acting right now. And so, I feel a lot better than I did a week ago. Which was better than I felt 2 weeks ago, which was better than I felt 3 weeks ago. And so, again, there's no magic dust. There's just a process, and all those things are good signs. And I think we're going to have a significant number of guys back for the Georgia State game that will be at 100%, and that would be huge for us too, because we've got a lot of guys. We've had some guys obviously that have been missing. But we've got a significant number of guys right now, especially with lower body injuries, that have been playing through some hurts and not playing very fast because of it. And so this will give us a chance to really heal up.
Obviously, you use the time off to get well, but you could also use the next week or two to maybe put in some new things, some new wrinkles, offensively and defensively. But I would think, is that something you've got in plan?
Well, I don't know. I do know. I don't know that right now, quite honestly, if that's probably the smart thing for us to do, especially from an offensive perspective. I think defensively, we're kind of where we need to be at this point in time. We're a little healthier on defense. But, I'm pretty pleased with kind of where our mentality is there. I think offensively, obviously, we're dealing with some other issues in relation to health. And I'd love to see us get back to who we are, and I don't know when that's going to happen, and some of that's going to be built around health. So I don't know that now's the time to actually add some things. I think it might be the time to actually kind of cut back on some things and maybe refocus a little bit. A lot of that's going to be determined by our health, and I think it's probably too early this week to be able to make any kind of assumptions in relation to that. And now that's the segue into the next question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and answer it. Obviously, everybody on social media is talking about it. So.
Yeah, I think that I don't think there's any question in my mind barring any kind of thing over the next several weeks, that Colton will be back. Colton Browning will be back at some point in time. I'm not prepared to give that definitive date. We want him to be healthy, and he is healing at a very, very rapid rate, and has been very impressive to both the staff and the doctors and the players on our football team. And he's a hard worker. This is important to him, and so I know that he's going to continue to work. And work ethics, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, is one of the biggest things about rehab. Is you got to have a work ethic to get yourself through that. So I do think that he will be back, and we'll just have to kind of go day by day in relation to when that might be. Could it be Georgia State? I'm doubtful right now. And could it be whoever that next opponent is? Probably a greater possibility, and every week after that, probably a greater possibility.
Has he been just living in the trainer's room? Or?
Yeah, he has. Again, for there's some guys that heal faster, and so I think that's part of it, because I think he's always healed fast. But I think this is really important to him, and so his work ethic in relation to getting healthy is even that much more significant. And so, he's been doing the things that have been asked of him, and obviously it'll take him some time, even once he does get back, to kind of get back in a little bit of playing shape, because he's been down here for a couple weeks, and 3 on upcoming Saturday. So it'll take us a little bit of time, but he has been doing some things from a cardio standpoint in terms of the pool and the bike and some of those kind of things that should allow him to stay in some kind of shape.
2 weeks ago, was the whole year, and what moment was it like the sun peeked through the clouds of maybe this isn't the last time we did? Is there a certain time he's running around, or when did it kind of?
Well, I think probably last week. There was just kind of watching him move around last week. A lot of just anything in life's about desire, and he's a good faker in relation to acting like he's not hurting and acting like he's not limping and putting a smile on his face even though he has pain. And so he can't fool me, because I've known him for too long. And there's still some pain and all that kind of stuff. But he knows when people are looking, and he turns it on when people are looking, like there's nothing that's going on. Now, if you catch him in those moments when he doesn't think anybody's looking, there's a little different story. And so, we'll watch, we'll gauge, and we'll see what comes about. The sooner, the better. But obviously, we're not going to risk his health, and we're not going to put him back out there if he's not completely healthy. And I've made that very, very clear to the doctors and trainers that I think we might have we kept playing him when maybe we shouldn't have after the Oklahoma game, and a lot of that, and nobody's got the crystal ball that says this is what's going to happen. But he wasn't at full speed. He was getting better every week, and then all of a sudden we have a re-injury, and those things happen, and I recognize that. But I want to make sure our players are healthy if they're going to be on the field.
I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if it's accurate, but in your post game on the radio, you said something like, "I know the answer to fixing the offense."
Mm-hmm.
Is the answer getting him back in that offense, or is there more to it?
No, I think there's a little bit more to it. I think part of it's health. We have 6 offensive linemen right now that have lower body injuries, and quite honestly, they're not moving around very well. And so then Texas State was good on defense. We even talked about their transfers up front and the defense front. That's a good front. And we didn't come off the ball and play as physically as what I would have liked to have seen us do. Some of that's on us, and some of it's on our health. It's even obviously when you're counting 6, then you're counting a backup. We're not going to make excuses for the injuries, but we also know too that some of these kind of things kind of pile up, and you have 6 like that. It becomes a little bit more difficult. I don't know that we played our best. Congratulations to Texas State in relation to, we were not prepared for how loud it was there, and we actually had to use a silent count, which we've never had to do in league play, and that created some problems for us because it's been a little while since we've practiced that, and especially with Brayley. which Bradley doesn't have as much control over that. But there were several moments where he's got to be more active in getting things out there, because there were several times where you see everybody looking around like, I can't hear you, and that's his responsibility to make sure that he gets that communicated. And so all those are kind of learning lessons for him. But yeah, there's no question that we know what the answers are. Sometimes the answers aren't there, though. And right now, for us, they're not completely there. Unless we want to just change offenses and get in the I formation and just say, to heck with this year, and we're not worried about growing up any of our other guys or being in the offense that we want to be. And I don't want to do that. It's not fair to our players that are in the program. We know we're going to get some guys back from a health standpoint, and I think some of that will change. And we need to continue to drive the direction that we want the thing to drive, rather than worry about, some injuries that all of a sudden impact the game.
How many of your 6 linemen are starters?
5.
Okay. And what about Jerron? Is it
Mhm.
week 3 now? They've been out?
Yeah, I think Jerron will be back. He was close this last week. Based off of the game plan, there was not as strong a need because we were going to play a field position game with them. We were not going to be real aggressive until the fourth quarter on offense. And we felt like that defensively, based off their offensive production and kind of the matchups, that we felt pretty good about that. And we knew that we were going to struggle a little bit against their defense. Their defense has played pretty well. They had the one hiccup against Lafayette. But as I mentioned last week going in, I said, they'll be much more impressive because they just – when even Fran said it in his press conference, we felt a little bit too good about ourselves and maybe didn't quite come out as strongly as what we needed to. So bottom line is that we were going to play a field position game. Jerron Ham was maybe not as needed in that game because of just the nature of kind of how the game plan was going to be played out. And this was the perfect time to rest him, get him back 100%, have this week off, get him back 100%, and that way we're not – watching a guy limp around as we did for about 3 weeks there trying to play.
What is the schedule for this week?
Today is going to be more of a recovery type of day. We're going to focus on the ice tubs and foam rolls, and I think JD's got several masseuses, yoga people coming in. I'm teasing.
I was like, we're going to take part in that.
Yeah, I'm teasing. It's a spa day for us. No, it's more on recovery type of things. We'll do some lifting today, try to hit all the different body parts in relation to working out soreness and lactic acid out of certain muscle groups. But we'll also really focus on the joints and flexion and some of those type of things. We'll have another meeting in relation, as we did on Sunday, not about our opponent, but basically just kind of going back, watching cut-ups of ourselves. Looking at teaching tapes so our guys kind of get back to, here it is, here's this play, this coverage call against all these different looks, and kind of spending our time kind of focused back on that a little bit. As coaches, we've already started that process, obviously, on Georgia State, and we'll continue that process. And we've actually already started on Troy because obviously there's going to be a short week after this. Tomorrow will be a much more it'll be kind of the only really, really full contact practice we'll have. It'll be focused a little bit on more individual technique, fundamentals, that type of thing, and then a real high exposure look at some of our players that are not playing as much right now that we're excited about watching play some. And so we'll actually kind of scrimmage those guys. Thursday will be the majority of that will be spent on the kicking game, and kind of, again, going back through some basic fundamentals that can kind of get lost sometimes in the kicking game during that time frame. Friday and Saturday, the young players will have off. The young men will have off. Come back on Sunday for game week. We'll obviously get a little bit of preparation for Georgia State tomorrow also in terms of our kind of on-the-field scouting reports and a little bit of kind of some of the looks and just kind of whet their appetite to some degree. A good portion of the coaches are going to be leaving after tonight to go recruiting, and so it's going to be a little bit of a shortened staff because during these off weeks you can obviously go out. There's limitations, though, in like what people think. You can have 42 total, and so when you start talking about 10 coaches going out during a time frame, then they basically during the whole fall can have about 4 days that they can be out. Now, obviously, we got several who are going to use 3 this week, and so we can't just go out at will and go recruiting. You have to choose your moments. This is a really good moment for us, I think, in relation to that. And we'll be hitting some high schools, some junior colleges, the whole bit this week. So next opportunity will probably be the next bye week, but we'll obviously have less numbers of days, so not everybody will be able to go out. Plus, at that point in time, some of the seasons will be over with. And that was just a very simple question, a very long-winded answer. Yeah, well, I don't want to leave anything to conjecture. So
this is probably a crazy question. Okay, we all agree we're going to ask one question at least, since it's probably going to take it easy on you, but things just keep coming to my mind. So
no, it's okay.
Sorry, Gene.
You're
I broke the agreement.
Yeah. Oh, so Gene's been complaining about how long my press conferences have been.
No, actually, the electronic media guys got together and they didn't want to waste your time. We knew you were on vacation.
Oh, I see. Vacation.
It was a spa day. And the last time
Spa day. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, just thinking, I know there's a lot of football still left to play, but do you think that that this could be one of those turning points, where maybe Tulane was a low point, and this could be a turning point to where, your guys rallied up in the fourth quarter and was able to, pull out a win, in addition to, what Isaiah sparked there in the first and second half. But can you look back on this and be like, gosh, that was such a gutsy performance that we really needed to maybe help propel the rest of the year?
I don't know. That's the great question, isn't it?
I always ask you those to make you, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you would like to think that I really liked the reaction of our football team post-game. I really liked the look in our eyes during that game. And quite honestly, as the players know this, it's been a little while since I've really liked our look. And I've mentioned it, and so could it be that point? Certainly. We get back healthy, as I think that we will. I think we have a talented enough team to be competitive. I think that during all this time there's been this, as I told the players last week, great football teams are desperate teams. There is a point of desperation in every good football team. Desperation generally is it becomes part of when you're desperate, then it doesn't make any difference if you're favored or the underdog. It just kind of comes. You're just so excited to play, and you're desperate to win a game, and those are the very, very hungry teams. And I think we kind of reached a point to where we were a little bit desperate, and that's a good thing. Sometimes that connotation sounds bad. Desperation sounds bad, but I think in our game it's actually a really good thing because I think that's the mentality you have all the time. Whether you're a good football team or a bad football team, you better be a desperate football team, desperate for another win. And so I saw a little bit of that in our guys' eyes, and that's and I told the team on Sunday I'm really, really excited about where we're at right now, and I know a lot of people wouldn't be, but I am because I recognize some of the problems that we've had throughout the course of the season. I understand them. You're not always going to like what's happened, but it's better to look at the end outcome. And I'm more focused on the end outcome than I am anything else. And right now, again, we want to be 1-0 at the end of this week, but to have that kind of mentality back, that's a good thing. Is it going to carry us? No. You got to work. You got to do all those other kinds of things. But the reality is that being desperate is a part of the equation.
Any other questions for Coach Berry? Thank you.
Spa day, here we come. Anybody want to join us? You're in, huh? Okay. Yeah.
Pretty good, if you'd like.
How about that? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I hate y'all to come over just for one question like that.
I was going to say, that's a record. It's only 204. That's different.
I tried to get real long-winded a couple of times, and I couldn't
The game tonight?
I couldn't sustain it.
I know. I was going to ask you, but I decided not to. Are you going to watch the left yet?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Western?
Make some recruiting calls tonight, but I'm going to watch some of that game just out of curiosity.
Yeah, he's really good on me.
Could be. You never know in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't. There's too many things that are equal, and the game's all about matchups anymore too.
Do you want to sit down and answer this one really long-winded? I'm just kidding.
We talked back into it. Oh, Ike's here. Ike was actually our offense and defensive MVP this season. So,
I thought he was gonna like
Defensive
show up
captain.
in his spa robe, the waffle robe to give you the spa.
yeah.
Senior Isaiah Newsome, floor is open for questions.
You ever had a game like that, Pee Wee, junior high? high school?
Yes, I have. Coming up, I always used to have games like that. It's nothing new to me, but for a second, we lost ourselves. But I think our team found ourselves back, the old Warhawks.
What's been the coolest thing or the coolest text or call that you've gotten since you've won all these awards?
Definitely from my mom, she told me she was proud of me and that she loved me and that, use the talent that God blessed me with. So, hearing that from my mom, it just made me happy.
Do you feel like going into that game, was there any part of you that just said, gosh, we just need like a spark, just something to get us back to a reminder of how good this team can be and how good this season can be? Did that ever cross your mind?
Definitely. In practice and before the game, all the coaches challenged us to step up and be leaders and make plays and, execute the defense. And we went out there with a mindset that we were just going to do that or whatever, and we did. We came out with a win, and I'm grateful for that, to all those guys out there giving it all.
From a player's perspective, talk about the week off and what it means to you guys and obviously a chance to kind of recharge.
It's definitely going to be utilized. We have a lot of people bumped up and bruised, and this week off is going to recharge us and get us back where we need to be as a team. And we also need to polish up on, certain aspects of the game, so that, we won't make those same mistakes in the game.
It's kind of like the same thing I asked Coach Berry along the lines of getting physically healed up and everything with this off week. You also think that it's a good time for the teams to kind of get their minds right and refocus on the goals that y'all set at the beginning of the year and to get that mindset y'all had like a preseason camp?
Definitely. The mindset that we had coming into this season, we expected to go undefeated. We have that caliber team. We have that talent. We just lost our way, and it's still possible for us to have a great season, make a run for Sun Belt Conference, and they just have it in their mind now. That game just sealed it in our mind that we can do it all.
Any other questions for Isaiah? You're off the hook.
Thank you.
That was so easy. You had an easy week.
I love you.
Hey, way to go, Ted.
Did you think make some shade?
Yeah, I forgot to ask you about it Friday afternoon when I saw you up now. I'm not here. My dad's retirement party Saturday night in Baton Rouge. I told him that, and he said, what about maybe Brady doing it? So you already texted that?
Next up, junior offensive lineman Joseph Treadwell. Floor is open for questions.
He's like from talking to Coach Berry, the O-line's still mixed up, a lot of lower body injuries. How great is it to have a bye week to be able to get rest and recovered?
This bye week came at a very good time. I mean, it just seemed like everybody on the offensive line got something wrong with, like you said, something lower body-wise. And this is a good week for us just to get healthy, just to try to get everybody back to 100%. Like, I know Demir, his ankle is all right, but this is a good time, no contact, to get it back to 100% where it needs to be. And myself included, Josh, the whole O-line. I just, this bye week just happened to fall at the right time, where a good time for everybody to just try to get back healthy.
Give us your thoughts of knowing that there's obviously a pretty high percentage that Colton's coming back. As our offensive lineman, it's always nice to have a guy, who started the season called. Talk to me about his return.
We're excited that Colton's coming back. I mean, he helps us like get into the right protections of like where he wants to throw. So he helps us know where we need to slide. Like he lets us know where it's like where he feels the certain pressure is coming from, which also helps us get him protected. And we just know that if all else fails, as long as we give him time, he's gonna make a play happen. And there's nothing more that you can ask for as offensive lineman, knowing that as long as you do your job, the person behind you is going to make something happen.
What was the conversation like before that touchdown drive, just knowing that y'all hadn't produced as an offense the way that y'all wanted to the whole game? And I don't know how much of that played into the injuries that were on the line, but just wanting to make sure that you didn't let another game slip through your fingers.
Before we went back out there, we had Braley come up to us, and he was telling us that we need to put a drive together and let's go win the game. And we was just like, basically put everything behind us that had happened before that game, well, during that game. Like, we had a lot of negative plays, but we was like, we can erase that and just put this one good drive together and go win the game, and everyone's just going to really be like, well, they finally showed up. Well, we finally showed we got the ball moving, got a couple of good rushes going. But we knew that the only thing it took was us to finally just everybody to play together and get a little chemistry going, and we was going to be able to move the ball, and that's what happened.
Not just that drive, but the win. Just how big was it feel to have something positive happen after a couple of weeks of just low blows, whether it be just losses on the field, losses of the players to the injuries, just to kind of to get things back to maybe making you feel like this is a reminder of how good of a team we can be.
The feeling was just great because, like you said, the offense really just, like, we hadn't really been producing up to our expected standards. So just getting that win really, like, kind of made everybody get the sense of hope back that we can be that top 25 offense that we want to be as long as we get back on the same path of working hard, putting in all the little extra things, because we didn't do nothing special that particular drive that we hadn't been doing all year. We just all finally did it as a whole group.